And
Hello.
hello. Hey, Arun, can I get a mic check?
Hey everybody, how's it going?
Doing all right. Thanks for joining us, David.
Everyone. Thanks for joining in.
Hey.
Arun, I have got 8 out of 11,
Thanks, Sean.
and we're ready to go whenever you are. The recording is still running. PCC coughed up a hairball, which is fine. So we can start whenever you want, Arun.
We could start now.
Oh.
Let me get started.
Arun, would you like me to drive or would you like to drive the presentation?
Um, I'm open for either.
If I could
Let
let
me.
you do it, because I got to drop off early, that'd be great. So I'll stop. There we go.
That's all.
And
Okay.
I will edit the video up to this point so that no one has to hear me doing attendance.
Okay. I hope everyone can see the screen. Can somebody confirm that you're
Yeah,
able to
yeah,
see the?
we see it.
Okay, perfect. Hey, everyone. Again, welcome and thanks for joining the OLF TAC meeting. Before we get started, a quick couple of reminders. And as we all know, um, these meetings are attended by several people, and then we may expect um, different people joining in from sometimes even from a competitor organization. And we expect that all the meetings that we run within the Decentralized Trust to abide by antitrust policy across the laws that govern across the globe will be followed. And before moving forward, again, everybody, all are welcome in all our meetings. And thanks for joining in. We expect that everybody treats other with respect, and we may have diversity from backgrounds that we bring in into the meeting. Um, Moving on. So, quick couple of announcements that I had. As we all know, we have a large developer community, and we do send weekly note to them. And this is an excellent opportunity for project teams to communicate what they have been working on and send it out to a larger community, um, get their opinion, get them involved into those discussions. If you have pull requests, if you have design documentations to be reviewed, please make use of this opportunity. All you would do is go to the wiki page, leave a comment with your expected update to be sent to the community. And with that, let's move to the next announcement. This is rather a reminder to the TAC. We do have the mentorship program in progress. The proposal phase is currently um, going on, and we do see several project proposals coming in. If you know maintainers, or if you within your project, if you have a need for mentorship program, please do make use of this opportunity. This can be a gateway for your project to onboard new maintainers or get new contributors, and at the same time get accomplishment for within your project. And also, quick reminder to those TAC members who signed up to review the project reports, you may start reviewing the proposals. And please note that you may also be able to sign a few follow-up questions if you have on any of those proposals. Before I move forward, I want to give a pause and ask if there are any other announcements that you would like to bring in. I don't see anybody raising hands, so I'll move to the next part. We do have a number of annual reports to be reviewed, and um, my plan is to like go through them as part of our agenda item later in the meeting. So I'm going to skip them for now, but I'll come back when we start discussion items for today. And I have marked names of those people who are marked as primary and secondary reviewers against the project reports that we have already received. I do see Hyro project report is also created, maybe in a draft stage. Otherwise, um, majority of the project reports are on time, and we will have to follow up with Iroha and Solang teams, asking them to submit their reports. Henrik, need your help on sending reminders to the project teams. Okay. With that, I did receive a note on Discord, and again, thanks Enrique for tagging. This is regarding a lab proposal that was submitted a couple of days ago. I request TAC members to go to the proposal, review it, and share any feedback that you have for the project on the lab project proposal. We believe, let me see if we have. I see David on the call. David, do
Oh,
you have
I'm
a
here. I'm here. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, if anybody has a chance to check out the proposal, I'm currently working with the Internet Engineering Task Force on a couple of drafts to get those adopted through the RATS working group, and I just submitted the proposal to get it added as a project here as well a couple of days ago. So I'm looking for sponsors right now. If anybody's interested, would be interested in helping me with that.
Could you give us an elevator pitch of what it is?
Oh yeah,
Having
sure.
not,
Proof of process is it's a protocol to allow that proves human authorship by capturing keystroke dynamics and behavioral biometrics during the writing process to generate self-verifying cryptographic proofs. It maintains a writer's privacy, but it does the because the evidence packet doesn't include any of the actual content of the writing. It just creates a hash of the content where each hash is built on the last previous one. And because I think this is really important right now because all the current at, attestation protocols, they all focus on either like C2PA focus on multimedia, and 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 there's currently no way for a writer to prove their writing process. So if somebody were to accuse you of using AI to write content, which is destroying students scholarships and writers careers and all kinds of things, there's no way for anybody to provide evidence to dispute those detectors right now, which are probabilistic and wrong as often as they're right.
great, thanks. I'll take a look.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions about that? I'd be more than happy to share more if anybody does. Or if you want to private message me or leave a comment on the PR, I could be happy to share more. I've got a working implementation on by GitHub or Writer's Logic / Witness D right now too, which is also in the PR if you guys want to check that out.
Thank you, David. I request TAC members to review the project proposal and share your comments. I can tag David on Discord for any questions if somebody wants contact, or you may leave the comment on the request. Okay, I see thumbs up from David. So we'll take a look at it and have comments for you sooner so that you're prepared for the presentation that you're preparing on. We then move on to the discussion items for today. On the call, we have Joanna, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, from the LFX Insights team. I know we have been waiting for LFX Insights for a while now. I would let Joanna speak, and I did not receive any pre-compiled questions. However, I do know multiple project teams have their own asks on what they would like to see from these dashboards. And I also know, like, from objective view perspective, the TAC has been looking forward to a dashboards that they would like to utilize. I'll let Joanna introduce herself and speak about it, and then we can ask those questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course, and nice to meet you, everyone. Yeah, I'm happy to hear any feedback from the project and the overall Insights application. I can give a quick update on what we have been working with me and David. So we basically aligned on all of the projects that we had to onboard and sort of clean up because it was not reflecting like the LFDT organization. So we basically re-onboarded most of the projects aligned to the latest status on GitHub. And then there were like a couple of projects such as like Fabric, Hyperledger Fabric, Firefly, Bezu that we haven't sort of like cleaned up yet because we were waiting on a confirmation on your side just to make sure that whatever we onboard is already like the latest status to avoid having to do it later on. This is like the majority of the work that has been done. We also have like a data quality team that is responsible to sort of like do a QA on the main data points that we show like in our dashboards. Given that we currently have like a big goal of onboarding a lot of projects, it's hard to keep up with this QA work just because it's a manual process. But that's why we also like open the floor to like any GitHub issues or even feedback for us to try to focus like on problems that you're already seeing and that are quite like transparent so that we can also prioritize them on our side. So I would say that in terms of updates, that's pretty much it from my side. I'm sorry, I don't think I introduced myself properly, but yeah, I'm currently the engineering manager for the Insights product and also the community data platform, which is more of an internal tool where we sort of like manage the projects and even take care of the onboarding of those projects, whereas Insights is more of the analytics platform for all of this. And yeah, I joined this call and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have or even just feedback that I can collect. Yeah, then.
Diane, you are muted.
Thank you. It's early here. And thanks, Yana, for coming and taking our questions. I think the request for you to come to specifically talk to the LFDT comes out of a little bit of frustration that we've had over the past, I think, year since the last upgrade was done, which broke a lot of the anchors to historical reports back into the LFX platform. So it's a common practice to put a link to a specific graph with a date range in it and have that be solid for all time. And the last UI break broke that. And but the last time I tried that with LFX Insights, the anchors brought you just back to LFX Insight. It didn't, they don't allow you to contain the filters, whatever you set up, the date range or you might get it to project level, but not in whatever the specific range is that you were looking for. So that was the the first flag that I had, and I'm wondering if in this cleanup that has been fixed. And the other couple of things that are really of concern to us is, and you mentioned you had a data cleanup group, is the management of affiliations. And I'm associated with the HIRO project, and we're all associated with reviewing annual reports. And we can see the affiliations for different maintainers is off, to say the least, and it doesn't manage affiliations over time. So someone like myself who has worked at Red Hat and IBM and now with Hedera, it the contributions I've made or an individual who's worked at multiple places don't appear to be accurately showing up over time. So if I made something in 2010, which is a long time ago, and I've been around that long, it doesn't show up accredited to the organization I was with at that point. And so those are sort of the two key areas. I'd be curious to also hear a little bit more about when you say cleanup. I suspect it just refers to getting all the new sub-projects and other projects incorporated into the data set that you're using. And if that's true, it would also be nice to be able to filter on a sub-project. So as in the case of Hyro, we have sub-projects like Solo or our SDKs and be able to just look and target those individual sub-projects. So those are sort of the areas, the high-level ones that I'd be hoping to see in a new release or an update.
All right, thanks for the feedback. And if I may address this already, for the first thing that you reported, so on the anchors sort of being broken, just a quick question from my side because I did not heard about like this use case before, but it makes perfect sense that it's something that we want to support. You're mentioning like anchors that existed from, for instance, like a previous version of Insights that with this new sort of like UI revamp sort of got broken, right?
Correct.
Okay.
It was a feature. It was
Mhm,
a feature in the earlier releases of LFX, and
mhm.
it's gone now.
Okay. Makes sense. So in the current version, we do support filtering with a custom date range and even to be able like to share a link with that date range. Um, However, it could be broken just because when we did like the migration from the previous product to the newest one, we sort of implemented like this redirect set of rules, but they were a bit naive, I would say, in the sense that if you had like a previous link for a given project, you would now be redirected like to the main project in the new application, or even like from a foundation now to a collection. So we did that work for a couple of links, but I'm pretty sure that we did not implement that granularity, for instance, when you have like date ranges for a given like metric or project. Um, so if it is possible, perhaps we could do it async after the call. Could you share me an example like of an anchor that you currently have in place and that it's simply broken, just for us to try to see if we could come up like with a way to implement this redirect like out of the box and to simply like redirect it to the new approach, just for me to be able to analyze the use case a bit better.
Yeah, I could probably send you one of the very first Hyro
Yeah.
reports that had a lot of links in it. So that's the, you know, there and probably there are old Fabric reports too or something. But any
Hmm.
of the historical reports that have links back to the older releases, they're pretty much all broken. Um,
Okay.
and they just redirect to the either, if you're lucky, to the project itself, or
Hmm.
basically to the main LFX page. Um, there
Yeah.
was one other thing that was of interest to myself, is to be able to aggregate, maybe, take two projects and aggregate them, especially if they're ones that are in the same stack or used commonly together. And I forgot to mention that. So there's that, but that might be a new feature.
Okay. So for the links, yeah, I would ask you to just send me a couple of examples, and I can try to examine how we could fix that automatically for you. Because as I mentioned, like the redirect logic that we implemented was a bit naive, just because we did not cover like all of the use cases. But I think the one you just mentioned is quite valuable because it's the reports that you have. So we can try to see if we can fix that up for you in the short term.
There may also
Mhm.
be an issue, and maybe Jessica logged it a while back. I'm not quite sure when we first discovered this, but I'll
Okay.
pause here.
Okay. For the remaining things that you mentioned, so for instance, on the thing that you just mentioned on being able to aggregate to projects, that's something that's actually coming. Um, so currently, the collections that you see on Insights were created by us, and some of them are just mimicking the structure that you have like on the foundations. But one thing that we are about to release, hopefully by the end of this quarter, is what we will call like community collections. So basically, users will be able to group projects in their own collections. They will be able like to make them public or private for themselves if it's something that, yeah, it's quite like user specific. So with that feature, you should be able like to have that aggregated view of like a specific set of projects that are like not yet available today.
Yeah, and
Um,
the
mhm.
key the key would be that if you did that, that the anchor to that specific collection and whatever filtering all would be shareable, so that we could reuse it
Exactly.
and
Yeah,
share it with others.
exactly. Yeah, that should be possible. So that's something that we have in our roadmap, and hopefully we would be able to deliver by the end of the quarter. Um, regarding
There,
the
there,
affiliations, sorry for interrupting.
no, just me. Sorry about that.
I was just going to refer to the problem that you mentioned on affiliations, which it's probably a problem that more people will refer. It's one of the main challenges that we have today because we are currently tracking more than 10,000 projects. And what I mean by this is that we do have a team that's responsible or mainly responsible for the data quality process, but there's like a limit to what they can do. So that's why I mentioned that they try to focus like on the top, I don't know, the leaderboards or the top contributors of each project to try to make sure that those at least would be correct. There is, however, like I would say, a gap in how we do affiliations, which is um, depending on the data that we have for a given contributor, our information on affiliations might be limited. So, for instance, we might know the current employer of a contributor, but we might not know like the historical employees of that person. So it really depends a bit on what we have collected from the contributions and what we can enrich from those data points. One thing that we have in our roadmap that I think will help with this is having a way in the LFX platform for users to go there themselves and to either fix or populate missing affiliations, which is something that, as of today, is not possible. Because this data quality team that we have working with us, they usually fix like incorrect stuff, but it's not that common for them like to be having, I don't know, all of the historical employers for a given contributor for all of the profiles, because that would be sort of unmanageable. So we do have like some automatic things in place that sort of enrich these profiles with organizations that they have worked for or that they did like contributions on behalf of. We have this like data quality team that does like a manual validation of the top contributors data. And then I would say that the missing part is to actually allow users to fix this data themselves if they notice that something is wrong. And this is something that it's like a high priority item for us this quarter. And I think it would help with the use case that you were referring to.
I think the other missing piece, besides the a front end or something for people to
Hmm.
do their own affiliations assignments, is also to incorporate a date range for those affiliation assignments. If you had those metadata tags in there,
That would also
and
be possible, yes. Hmm.
yeah, it's pretty common with things like Common Room and other tools to do that. So if you could do that,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
one thing I would say is asking those 10,000 projects and all of the associated contributors and maintainers to do this manually was a
Hmm.
bit of a failure on previous Linux Foundation attempts because people just weren't engaged. So it really is something that either has to be automated and
Yeah.
or the data cleanup team has to be assigned and charged with figuring that out and maintaining that. So that's it's a big task, but it's really what we kind of need to
Yeah.
understand the diversity of organizations and the actual affiliation of maintainers over time and
Hmm.
contributors.
Yeah, just to sort of add up to the point that you just made, I do understand that this is just like I would say another extra step for the affiliations process that we have in place, and we do have some automation in place. It's just that this automation is relying a lot on, I don't know, like social profiles or a set of data that we must already have in place for us to figure out like what are the employees of that person. But one thing that I failed to mention is that something that is also like on our roadmap is to start considering files that actually exist like in repositories on project repositories where projects sort of list the affiliations that they have for their contributors. And that's data that's most of the time is being updated and it's correct because it's being maintained by the project's maintainers, and we could also consume affiliations information from there. So this is just to mention that we already have like a couple of points that we have identified that would improve these affiliations data. But one thing that we want to make sure is to allow users to fix the data themselves, because there will always be like at some extent stuff that we won't know about, right? So we should offer the possibility to the user to go there and also fix for themselves. But we also have, yeah, automation in place and a couple of improvements already planned to try to improve this. Uh, yeah, I think I've addressed all your questions, but please let me know if I'm missing some points.
Thanks, Dan. David?
Thanks. I just wanted to give a little bit more context about what we were talking about with the cleanup and just to clarify that this applies to most projects, but not all projects. So this is really a legacy Hyperledger issue. And so, Joanna, just for some clarity, we didn't have to re-onboard all projects because at the time Hyperledger Foundation switched over to be LFDT, we changed the way we were starting new projects, and all new projects were getting their own GitHub org. So, for example, the project Diane's talking about, Hyro, does never had to be re-onboarded because it didn't have that legacy on it. So just to clarify, when we're talking about that cleanup, it's really the older Hyperledger projects. They were all started just because this was the way that we had done it. Started, Hyperledger's 10 years old, and kind of our process has changed over the time. All projects historically had been created under a Hyperledger GitHub org. And so they were all kind of bungled together. The way Insights is designed, and Joanna, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way Insights is really designed is that it's ideally looking at projects to be in their own GitHub org. So what we had done as part of that transition from Hyperledger to LFDT is to take those older projects and move them into their own org. So that's the cleanup, right? Because Insights needs to know with a when those projects moved the location of their code, we needed to then let Insights know about those new locations. So, I think that explains some issues that I think some of those older projects had. I think Fabric, for example, had pointed out recently that there was some of their repos were not showing up in Insights, and I think that absolutely had to do with that re-onboarding process. But I just wanted to clarify that this applies to some, but not all of the projects. So, Joanna, the Hyro project, for example, didn't have to go through the re-onboarding process. So I think that's a somewhat separate thing. So I just wanted to clarify that. And
Yeah,
we
thanks.
haven't
Thanks for clarifying.
And then also we haven't completed that re-onboarding process. There's still a couple of projects. We still have three more projects that are in the process of moving to their own org, and so there's still a little bit more cleanup to do. So I think there could still today be some issues related to that. So hopefully within the next few months that migration will be done, and then we can say the cleanup is complete. So we've done a lot of cleanup, but not all of it.
Yeah, I think I'm next. So, again, thank you for being here and talking with us about LFX. So Diane already brought up some of the pain points we have. Maybe before I come to that, what I would really like to do is um, give an overview like what we in general would like to do to you, Joanna. So um, our goal is really to use LFX Insights as the tool that we take as the base and the free and open base for all our reports about vendor neutrality, about diversity, about activity of the projects in our reports and even over that into our companies and things like that to in best case enable us to invest more in the projects and so on. And without going to specific problems, and I'm happy to show you some of them in a minute if you want to. um, Currently there are a lot of information in the tool that are wrong, based on wrong data, wrong affiliation, whatever, that with having several wrong data, the feeling of the project is like, yeah, we cannot use it. It would be great and awesome and the right project, but if the data is not correct or not trustful, it cannot be used at all. That is, I think, the big problem we have here, that we're at a point where we're saying, yeah, I don't trust that data. And and I think that is in general the thing that personally for me and I assume for this group in general need to be changed so that we can say, yeah, that's a tool we use where we are based on with all our metrics, information, reports, and so on. Um, I'm coming as Diane from the Highway project, so not as David mentioned, not one of those projects that got ported or need some reshaping. So we really started in our own org, um, not years ago, but when LFX was already there. So we started with a clean LFX Insights project. And the problem is that when I look at the data today, I can point you to several points where I say that is sadly not correct. Um, and this is not just that somebody is maybe affiliated to the wrong company, that goes to maintainers are not marked as maintainers. People are totally missing in the overview and so on. Companies shown up multiple times. So all those are problems that in combination bring us to the problem that we today cannot say that is the base that we use for our reports regarding the quality of the projects. And yeah, as said, if you are interested, I'm happy to show you some of the concrete problems I'm aware of. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for the detailed feedback and also to give me a bit more context on exactly like the main goal you would like to use insights for. And I completely understand that if like the data is wrong, you don't want to use it. So That's something that it's up to us to fix. To sort of go over a couple of the data issues that you mentioned, some of them are known issues. So for instance, for maintainers, we currently do this in an automatic way. We basically go over like the project repositories and we search for specific files within those repositories and we try to collect like the maintainers data from there. But we have received like multiple reports of people saying, I'm a maintainer of this project and I'm not being tagged as one. How can I change this? So we already have, for instance, a couple of identified improvements to do in that automatic project process, such as expanding like the list of files that we are exploring to find this information, to same as affiliations to allow users to mark themselves as maintainers in case that information is missing, but to also like be aligned with what Diane mentioned early. We want to automate these processes as much as possible, but always to provide like a fallback to the user to be able to correct the data themselves. So for instance, for maintainers, this is something that we know and that we want to address on the short term to make the data like a lot more correct, because I think currently like the accuracy is quite low just because we are missing a lot of data for maintainers in specific, just because it's also like I would say like a hard problem to solve to detect it automatically. Then for the other problems that you mentioned, like people not being, like people missing from the overview pages or even companies being shown like multiple times, we've had reports in the past for some of these issues. We would consider that this is a lot better today than it was 1 year, 2 years before. We have like metrics on this that tells us this. And again, we have a lot of processes in place that try to guarantee that the data that we show is as accurate as possible. So what I would probably ask you, and again, we can also do this async, feel free to share
Yeah.
more details with me after on exactly like issues that you saw, because if we have the examples in front of us, it's a lot easier for us to not only try to understand the problem, but even to see if it's something that we can easily improve, if it's a bug even. So yeah.
Yeah. So I can show you my, like, again, not getting deep into it, the general program, right? So I'm in LFX Insights and I opened Hire. First page, great. You did this achievement stuff like that. It's excellent. We have a good overview. So as said, in general, I like this project. It's a so good idea. Now I go to the second one, to contributors. And now my program starts. We have the contributor leaderboard, and the leader here is Nadine, who A is a maintainer, and B, if I click on it, Exploree is here in the meeting. It's Sophie. Hey, Sophie.
I could confirm that's me.
Yeah, why
Not
Nadine is it's start at the first point that I see several things are wrong. And if I go down, the second one I see is the organization leaderboard. Hashgraph, biggest one. I can believe that. Lime chain, second biggest one. I can believe it. Now we have Hyro Ledger, which is the name of the project, which is shown here as the second biggest company. There is no company like that. It is a project. And if I go into it, I will find companies several times, like here, or here, or here we have Red Hat and Red Hat, and I can continue with that. And we now looked at the first two graphs, and that is the view I have, and I would like to have a different view, but when I start like that, I come to the point like, okay, whatever comes after it is that trustworthy at all, when even in the first two diagrams, directly with the first values, like even in the top 5 in both of them, I found those problems.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, makes perfect sense. For instance, for the companies that are being shown multiple times, that's definitely a bug. So I already took note of it to check it out. Same for like the top one contributor that's definitely being mixed up with another profile. same like for the name of the project that is being shown as an organization, that is actually something that we fixed in the past. So for it to being showing again, it's again a bug. So I do hear you. And I do hear that if for the top 10 list of the main page it's already wrong, then probably it will be even wronger for the rest of the lists or the rest of the widgets.
Yeah. That is my problem, right? And I do bugs every day, so I understand you. It's not blaming here, it's like trying to move it in the right direction.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of these problems we have received reports before, and we are taking actions to fix this, especially like for instance in companies and profiles, since we have a lot of automation in place, because as I mentioned, we have millions and millions of data. We try to have things automated, but sometimes in this process, we end up creating some wrong data, such as the mixed up profile that you saw. And it's then again a process to clean up that data that we accidentally made it wrong. So it's always great to hear this feedback, because as you said, like if we know about this, then we will be able to improve it. I will also try to discuss probably internally, even with Jonathan, on how we can improve like the quality of this. I don't know if it will be, for instance, to ask our data quality team to focus a lot more on validating like profile by profile on the top 10. I don't know what it will be, because it's hard to make a decision on this, but I will try to align internally with the team on how we can offer like a more tailored experience for these like Linux projects, and to make sure that users also trust like our data, because as I mentioned, I can tell that the data today is a lot better than it was before, but it's not perfect. So yeah, I already took note of all of your feedback, and I will try to start drafting a plan to prioritize some of these items, because they are definitely data issues.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hendrik. Sophie?
Hi, I'm quite curious about the underlying data. I've been playing around with Hyro and things, and I have been doing some analytics myself in the background. I also have over 40 automated bots, many of which pulled maintainer data, permission data, all kinds of things. So I would be quite curious to help maybe identify possibly what's happening, at least with the Hyro repository. I know how we extract like permission data and things. I could sort of debug it, see if there's any permission issue or something. I was just wondering like if any of this is open source, and if you could link us to like the specific page or something that calculates some of like the I guess the maintainer or the contributor.
Yeah.
The main thing.
Of course. This is open source. The Insights repository in specific, it's still not ready like to receive contributions, just because like people won't be able to run like the full project within that repository, and it would require a bit more it would require like a much better setup for users to be able to contribute, but everything is open source. And we have the code split into two repositories, which I can definitely share with you. And one of them has, for instance, all of the queries that we have for insights and how do we model the data. To be honest, from just referring specifically to the issues mentioned by Hendrik, I think this would be hard to I don't know, to understand why they happen in the code, because some of these issues I think are they have been like generated by some automatic processes that we have. So it's not something that you could, for instance, now fix in the code. It's more we need to clean up the data, because at least for some of the issues that Hendrik mentioned, we've already fixed the issue in the code. But to try to also answer your question, I think it would actually help to have like a proper report, like of all the data issues that you found, for instance, on the Eero project. And you could even report in our repository that's open source, the insights one. And then we could take a look at that analysis and try to understand if it's, I don't know, a code bug, if it's like a data issue, if it's something broader that's affecting other projects. Because a lot of the times we are reactive, right? Like someone reports as an issue and we look at it and we fix it. But we are also happy, of course, to take like a look at a deeper analysis and try to understand a bit better if it's a bigger problem or not.
Sophie?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that explanation. I totally understand that. You know, it's difficult to see from the code what data is being passed, and like the quality of that. You'll need to like simulate it and
Yeah.
break it down and clean it as you say. I'm just looking through the repository. From what I've just been frantically scanning it the last 2 minutes. But am I correct that a lot of it is like inside sort of a private database and the scripts and things like that? I don't really see.
So the insights repository is pretty much almost like the front end of the application. It's a Next application, so you would have also like the API calls, but in terms of like the queries, this is actually living in another repository, which is also open source. I can share perhaps the details with you after, because pretty much everything is open source. The only thing that you wouldn't have access to is like the actual database to see the data. But like the queries and how we model the queries, it's actually public. It's just in two different repositories.
Okay, yeah, that would be great if you could point me to that.
Yeah, of course.
I understand that it's not fully open for contributions, but I'm happy to like help identify maybe what the issues could be and stuff like that.
Yeah, actually the other repositories actually where it's more like the data part, like the backend of the data part, and that's actually one of the main reasons why you cannot run insights or contribute to insights. It's because it's separated into the different repositories, and it's quite difficult to have everything running like in your local machine at once without some further configuration. But yeah, I'll provide some details on this, and yeah, of course, feel free to check it out and to even provide some feedback if any.
Thank you, Sophie. Thank you, Johanna. Maybe I have one on request. I think one of the asks that we may start seeing from project teams is if they can categorize some of their sub-repositories into sub-projects and then have similar metrics visualized across them.
We have one functionality, which I'm not entirely sure if it's exactly what you mean, which is called a repository group. And I believe you can check an example in the Kubernetes project. Let me just quickly confirm. Yeah, so I'll link here. But basically, we do have a feature where on behalf of a project, you are able to create this repository group concept, which is not more than just a group of repositories. And this is, for instance, being used in the Kubernetes project because they have this concept in their project. And one of the biggest downsides of this feature, at least for now, is that it's being managed internally. So what I mean with this is that if you wanted to create these repository groups in your project, you would have to make a request to us to create this, and then it would automatically show on Insights once we create them. But I don't know if this would achieve what you were requesting or if it's something a bit different.
Thank you, Anna. We'll communicate that to project teams and see if that satisfies, or if needed,
Okay.
we can. Dan?
I had one other request, and maybe you can do it, and I haven't been able to figure out how to do it with LFX, is to track an individual's maintainer or contributor across multiple projects. So say I put in Hendrik's name and see every project in LFX that he has contributed to. Is that a possibility or something that your metadata would enable?
If you wanted to check that, it wouldn't be on Insights. Like the current application that would allow that would be individual dashboard, but I'm actually not even sure if that's still enabled. But in individual dashboard, basically you could search like for someone else's profile, like you could search, for instance, for my profile, and you could see, for instance, the affiliations on my profile there, but not on
Yeah.
Insights, because on Insights we have this goal of visualizing metrics either on behalf of a collection, a project, or a repository, not like on an individual.
Yeah. So one of the concerns, like in community work that I've done in the past, is maintainer migration, and being able to see when someone leaves a project and starts moving to another project. Happens all the time, but to see how to track that, because as there is attrition in maintainers and contributors, and to see that visualization would be very helpful in insights. And so I'd be happy to work with you on an issue or logging a proposal for how you could implement that.
Yeah, I think it would be good to have sort of a feature request, or yeah, as you mentioned, some sort of specification on the need, because I won't be the best person to talk about this, but we are currently working on LFX1, which is supposed to replace like a lot of the tools that we currently have in place, and it would sort of like replace individual dashboard, and for instance, it would allowed to have this functionality that you were asking, where again you would see the contributions and affiliations on behalf of a single person, and that data would actually be presented or based on insights data. So what I mean is that users wouldn't have to update them manually. It would be automatically populated, and then the only thing that the user could do is fix it in case it was wrong. So perhaps feel free to share more details on that specific use case
Yeah.
and need, and I can pass that information on to Jonathan, and he can probably answer you a bit better than I can.
Yeah. And I'm also wondering, just strategically, if you liaise with the folks from the Chaos project, which do management and assessments for community health, because I think that would really, some of the stuff that you do looks like you are, but then there's a lot of other metrics that we use to measure community health across Linux Foundation projects that aren't incorporated in your dashboard, and it would be helpful if you guys were participating in those initiatives.
Makes sense. What we usually communicate is like, feel free to share like a feature request, either through GitHub, through, I don't know, Slack, email, whatever. And then what we will try to do is not only prioritize it, but also to try to understand where would it fit the best. Like, is it Insights? Is it another LFX product? And we try to, like on this new version of Insights, we try to come up like with a product concept that sort of fits all projects, right? And I know that specific projects will have specific requests. So it's also then our job to try to understand, does it make sense to implement and prioritize this and like bring value to all of the projects, or is this like too specific to prioritize like for now, you know what I mean? So again, feel free to share like that's feature request, and then internally we can also assess together like if we should prioritize it like on the short term or not.
Thanks, Dan. Jessica?
Thank you. Thank you for all of this. John, I just, John, sorry. I just noticed a message on the top of LFX Insights about meeting the team in Amsterdam for KubeCon. Is that specific to the Insights team for anybody that is interested and that can make that KubeCon conference? Is this a chance for them to meet the Insights team, or what is the Insights LFX presence in that conference?
I think this banner is actually being shown in all of the products for LF. So it won't be like you will meet all of the Insights team there, but I'm pretty sure that you will meet. Usually, Jonathan attends these events. I've attended one myself in the past. So usually, like not the entire team goes there, but at least like one person that you can definitely like reach out to in case you have some feedback. For instance, in a previous conference, we met with Open Info Foundation. So this is something that we can definitely arrange and just try to understand who will be there from LF to collect feedback from you.
Okay, okay, I see. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Anna, again for answering all the questions. Unless somebody have additional questions.
Yeah, just a quick note from my side. I've written down everything that we've discussed here. I'll also follow up with some of you on the pending items. But yeah, apart from this call, like feel free to reach out via email, via I don't know, the GitHub issues, and we're always happy to collect this feedback and try to improve because yeah, we definitely want you to use Insights, of course.
So
Joanna, how could I contact you for the like information on the code?
Either by I think I can reach out to you via email if that's okay. I think I should have access to your email.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask, whoops, could I ask one last question? What is your release map? Like when do you have a public roadmap for when the releases and the new features are going to come out?
We do, but I honestly don't have the link. It's the public release map. It's more like on a higher level. So what I mean by this is like smaller improvements will not show up there. But for instance, like the community collections that I mentioned before will probably be there. But I will need to confirm with Kieran what would be like the best link or place for me to share that with you. Let me confirm that.
Yeah, if you could share that basically with Arun and Hendrik, and we could get that into the TAC Discord, that would be handy for us to be able to review, because you may be doing some of the features that we're asking for already.
Yeah. It's also like on our roadmap to have a much better like change log, even in the repo itself. So even if you're not like keeping track of, I don't know, LF public announcements, if you're, I don't know, following the repository, you can definitely also check there. But I'll confirm that to you after the call.
Yeah. And yeah, so thank you. If you check the notes, there's a whole, if the chat, there's a whole list of questions, not questions, but comments in there that you could probably grab. And I think we have an AI note taker, so that'll be helpful.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome. Thank you again. I see we are 1 minute away from top of the hours. I don't think so we'll be able to get into the project reviews this week, but I do request all the TAC members to spend some time and reviewing them. We could also start the GitHub for those project reports if there are no conflicting topics or if there is nothing that you would like to bring up. Otherwise, we can use next week's meeting to discuss those. Thank you again. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for the feedback. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.